All right, everybody. Looks like we may be live. I don't know. We'll have to see until this pops up. But here we go. If you're watching this on the replay, it means we had a really good time in the chat room and all that other good stuff. Let me turn this down. There we go. Okay. So we are good to go. If you're watching this again on the replay, it means we had a good time and I decided to post this. If you are watching this live, well, we're going to have a good time. It's an AMA, it's Ask Me Anything. And basically, it's just one of those things where I thought, you know what? It's a good day to come on here and do a live chat kind of thing. So, anyway, Yellow Paper Crown, hello. Hi, how are you? Hope you're well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me turn my volume up so I can hear what I'm doing here. There we go. I always love live streams because it's it's like being visually impaired, I get close to the screen, and when I can't get close to the screen, then I can't see what I'm doing. So it's it's always difficult. But anyway, if you're watching this live, thank you for joining. And if you can hear me well, great. If you can't, if there's any trouble, just let me know, and we'll do that. So, Blind Girl Gaming, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you're having a good day out there. I feel like a like a host of something. Having a good day out there, everybody. Anyway, again, this is an AMA. It's an Ask Me Anything. You can ask me anything about visual impairment, blindness, sight loss, or about myself, my own personal journey, or just, whatever else you want to ask. And this is one of those times we're just going to have conversation. And hopefully the conversation leads to other questions, and those questions lead to other answers, which leads to other conversation. And I think you get the point here. We're going round and round and having a really good time. So, and again, if you have any trouble hearing me or anything like that, you can leave that in the comments as well. Hopefully, I have updated my internet. The last time I did this, the internet was a bit choppy, so hopefully the internet will be a little bit better this time, but you just never know with the internet. So anyway, if you're watching this live, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Make sure to leave your questions in the comments. If you're watching this on the desktop version of YouTube, the comments are to the right of the player, so you can leave your comments over there. If you're watching this on the app on the iPhone or the Android, I think probably, then the chat is all the way at the bottom. It'll say live chat and you can join it there. Let's see here. All right. First of all, thank you, a yellow paper crown. Thank you for the comment. She said he or she said I have a TV voice. I appreciate that. All right. So the first question came in. Blind Girl Gaming asked if I use Zoom Text or JAWS, or if I use VoiceOver. That's a good question. I do have limited vision at a time, but I have some remaining. So I use a combination of things depending on the device. So I have an iPhone, an iPad, and a Mac. I use VoiceOver predominantly on the iPhone and the iPad. That's 95% of the time, unless there's some text I want to see. Maybe something is spelled weird and I want to get in there, and so I will zoom in on that. On my Mac, I use Zoom 95% of the time. On something like that. And then I'll use VoiceOver occasionally if my eyes are tired or whatever the case. And let me get it here. I have a trackpad that I use for my Mac when I'm using VoiceOver. And the reason I use the trackpad is because some of the gestures are similar to some of those on the iPhone, swiping left and right, up and down, the rotor, things like that. Now, it's not perfect, and that was not cheap, but for me, I like it and I use it. So I use a combination of things depending on the device. That's a good question, though. I appreciate it. Let's see. Our next question. Brian Fallon. Okay, what apps do I use? Note taking and giving presentations on my iPad. So exclusively when I'm giving a presentation, I use Evernote. And there is a video on my channel somewhere. And if I find it, maybe I'll put a link in the description to this. But I use Evernote because in that video I explain, I can type it on my Mac or Windows, depending on what you're using. And then on my iPad, I can swipe through and hear it in my ear, which is what I'm doing right now for these comments, I'm hearing it in my ear, which you can see. I don't know if you can tell. I have wired headphones hooked up. I can hear it in my ear and then repeat it or parrot it back out. And for that, Evernote, there's just no beating it. It's not a specifically, blind application or whatever, but it's so good and so helpful to me because I can swipe through. Other apps I might use for taking notes, obviously Apple's, very quick and easy. Google Keep is a really good accessible application for note taking, and there is a great web version for that. I don't know how accessible it is on the web for JAWS or VoiceOver, but it's really good. Excuse me, it's really good as far as accessibility on the iPhone and the iPad. Google Keep is great. I'm sure there are others for note taking. I did try the Apple Pencil with note taking on the iPad, but because of my limited vision, it just didn't work. And if you're totally blind, I don't think it would work at all. It doesn't work with VoiceOver, so you'd have to turn it off, and then it's whatever. But there are other note taking apps, but I found Evernote is a really, really good one. The iPhone and iPad app is really accessible with VoiceOver. And like I said, I can use it to swipe through and give presentations. If I think of other things, I'll leave those in the description. But those are pretty much the big ones for me. Let's see here. JC5 Productions. When I use VoiceOver, do I use it with a screen curtain or only when my eyes are tired? So I assume you're asking about VoiceOver. I'm going to answer this both. I don't know if you're asking about the Mac or the iPhone or iPad. I usually don't use it with a screen curtain because I have limited vision. I want to see, and I'm a visual person. I'm a visual learner. I need to see the screen, like the layout and that sort of thing. So if I use VoiceOver on, like, let's say the Mac, then typically I will still kind of keep it up, but I need to see the screen. And sometimes I will turn the screen curtain on the Mac occasionally if my eyes are so tired that I'm like, oh, I can't even look at this. This is so awful. And on the iPhone, I think it saves a little battery life because the display's not on. I will use screen curtain in one very specific instance. The other day, I was typing something on my iPad, and obviously my kids can come behind me and just look at what I'm typing, and I don't even realize it, because what I do is I'll put in an earbud, something like that, and listen to my text through VoiceOver on my iPad. Well, my kids come behind me and see, and I didn't want them to see this because it was, not for their eyes. So I did turn the screen curtain on and went ahead and typing. My kids are always like, "Do you know the screen's not on, Dad?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's on. Don't worry." But I do use the screen curtain for that in that instance. But if my eyes are tired, I definitely use VoiceOver as much as I can. Let's see. Next question here. Here we go. All right. Yellow Paper Crown asked if I've ever done mobility training. Let me see one more thing here. All right. By the way, Yellow Paper Crown says they love the Apple Pencil as a visually impaired artist. That's awesome. If you're using the Apple Pencil, as far as the stylus itself goes, it was great. No lag. It was fantastic. I'm not an artist. I couldn't draw a stick man and make it look good. But for the purposes of taking notes, it just didn't help me. But if you like it, man, kudos to you. And I think the 12.9-inch iPad would have helped, but I only have the 9.7. So that's just my thing. Anyway, have I taken mobility training? Yes, I did take orientation and mobility training, O&M as it's called in the visually impaired world. It's really great because it helps you to become confident when you're traveling. I currently use a white cane, but I will tell you about my experience using taking O&M. I took O&M about 2 months, 2 to 3 months after I initially lost my sight. I lost it in about 6 weeks after my high school graduation. So I took O&M because I wanted to get a guide dog. I didn't take O&M because I was like, I need O&M. I wanted a guide dog. They said I needed O&M, so I took it to get the guide dog. So I had a guide dog for about 6 years, and I took O&M before that. O&M basically is just to help you become better with orientation, learning where you're at in space, learning how close you are to things, learning turning left, turning right, that sort of thing. And then mobility, the physical act of moving in that space that you're in. For example, good orientation helps you to know I turned left, I turned right, I turned left, and now I still know where I'm at based on the turns that I've made. Good mobility helps you to keep walking and stay upright in the space that you're walking in. So using a lot of people will call it white cane training, and it is to an extent. You're using the white cane, but it's not specifically white cane training. It's helping you to develop the skills to orientate yourself to a new space, to learn where things might be, to learn how to get to those things in the space. So, depending on your mobility instructor, how they'll cover different things, and they could also cover things like bus routes and taking an Uber and bathrooms, all that sort of thing. But I think it's going to be really, really helpful depending on how much confidence you have as a traveler. It'll give you a little more confidence in that O&M training. So let's go down here a little farther. Where am I at? Okay, here we go. T Gardone. Hi. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I think I said that T Gardone, or do you have one name? Is it Tagardone? All right, next question. Okay, Blind Girl Gaming asks, what's the weirdest experience I've had trying to explain to a sighted person that I can do it? That's that's interesting. Gosh, I don't know. The weirdest experience. It's like I can do this, I promise. It's probably just I don't know if it's weird experiences I've had. It's just trying to convince people that it's okay. Some of the times of just walking with somebody who's sighted and doesn't know how I actually get around and see. It's like, yeah, it'll be fine. Don't worry. And they're constantly like looking back, like, you're gonna be all right. You're gonna make you're gonna make it, that sort of thing. So it actually is really fine. But I'm trying to think of a weird moment I've had, like something you wouldn't think a blind person would do, right? You're tagging, and that's in the dark, which is not the greatest thing. It's not super easy, but we went on vacation last week. My family and we went parasailing. Now this time, I did not tell the people that I was visually impaired. My family was there. They didn't. It wasn't a big deal. It was fine. But my wife and I have gone parasailing before, and I think those people were a bit like, "Are you?" If we, it's like, no, it's going to be fine, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think they were afraid of me falling off the boat, that sort of thing. One weird experience I had, and I don't know about this. I went to when I was in college, I went to a hypnotist. I went to a show. He hypnotized people and, whatever. Well, initially I went up there with my guide dog, because I had my dog at the time. And he's like, no, you can't bring your dog up here. And I was like, what? Why? Anyway. So my friend, sat down with my dog and I went up on stage. I was kind of wondering if he was afraid he couldn't hypnotize me because I was visually impaired. I didn't know he had to use visual cues or what the case may have been. To be honest, I don't really remember getting hypnotized, but I guess if you get hypnotized, you wouldn't remember, right? So I don't know. I remember most of the show, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't had a lot of weird experiences, honestly, because I don't know. Like I don't look very blind, in quotes, look very blind. So people don't actually, ask me a lot of weird stuff. I did go rock climbing, and I think the rock climbing, but I went with a group of other blind people. So it's kind of like, it wasn't a big deal. So, let's see. Brian Fallon asked if I use Apple Pay. I use it when I can, for sure. I, uh, I wish more places had it, but no, I use Apple Pay when I can. I think a couple of restaurants, and I have an Apple Watch, and I use it with my watch. So yeah, I use it anytime I can because it's a very simple way. I don't have to pull out my wallet. Honestly, it's the way to go to make it simple because you don't have to pull out any card or anything like that. So it's for sure. Blind girl gave me LOL. I get you. Yeah, definitely. T Gardone, I got it right. Thank goodness. I always hate names because I'm like, I'm going to butcher these names. I apologize. Let's see. A Yellow Paper Crown says they're hoping to use a white cane because they've been using public transportation and there's so many stairs. You know what? That is so true. And I don't take my cane out all the time when I'm with sighted people. I won't always take it, and you can have your opinion about that, but I don't always take my cane. But sometimes I'm like, why didn't I bring this? Because there's stairs everywhere. For example, there is a monument downtown, and it's got stairs that lead up to the monument, but it's stairs that like wrap around the monument, so there aren't always arm or handrails that arm rails anyway handrails that go up because they're only at designated places. So sometimes we come up on the place that there's no arm rail, and I'm like, oh, worried about these steps and going down. And so it's like, why didn't I have my cane? This would be so much easier. So yeah, learning to use that cane effectively, and it's really not as hard as it seems. Once you learn it, it's kind of like, oh, this makes sense. But yeah, those stairs can be treacherous for sure. Let's see here. What else? Let me get to the next question. Oh, here we go. T. Gardone asks, do I use Android and what do I think is better for blind accessibility, Android or Apple? All right. Well, you've really opened up the labyrinth or the Pandora's box here, T. Gardone. This is a controversial topic in the visually impaired community for sure. But you ask what I think, so I'll share what I think. I do not use an Android. I use an iPhone. I have all Apple products, as a matter of fact: iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, Apple TV, all that stuff. I use all Apple products, and here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, I find the accessibility features in Apple products, the built-in accessibility features, are better than the Android features. That's just, I'm not saying that Android don't have decent ones because they've come a long way, but I find the accessibility features in the Apple products are better. Secondly, once you get into the ecosystem of Apple, iPhone, iPad, Mac, they all start to connect, and it doesn't make sense for me to plug one out like getting an Android phone because they all my stuff connects. So that's not really an accessibility issue, but for me, that is important. Again, it's a personal preference. Can you use an Android phone as a visually impaired person? 100% yes, you can. Absolutely. No question about it. I've got a good buddy here on YouTube named Sam. He's got a channel called The Blind Life. By the way, if you're not subscribed to The Blind Life, you need to go subscribe to that because he is like 15 subscribers away from 10,000 subscribers, and that is just awesome. So check out The Blind Life. But Sam uses an Android phone, and he talks about it. It's great. It's no problem. So yeah, you can definitely use an Android phone. For me, because you asked me, I use Apple products. And if somebody were losing their sight right now and came to me and said, what should I get, Android or Apple? Again, I would say Apple. That being said, that doesn't mean you can't use an Android phone. And if you've got an Android phone that you use on a regular basis and you lose your sight, you can definitely use an Android phone. So that's my answer. That you're going to start a lot of controversy, I bet, in this chat room because everybody's got an opinion, but that's just my answer. All right, let's go to the next question. Blind Girl Gaming asks if my family members ever forget that I can't see. Sometimes it seems like they do because we'll be walking along and they'll say, "Oh, look over there, look at that." And I make some snarky comment like, "Oh, if only I could," and they laugh. I don't know if they forget or if it's just look at that. And I'll say I don't say snarky comments all the time, but it's just funny. We'll joke around. But we talk about it so much that it's just one of those things. But it's people that interact with me on a somewhat regular basis, but not all the time. They forget. They're like, "Oh, I totally forgot." If I slow down when I'm walking, if I'm waiting at a restaurant and I'm like, "Can you read the menu?" They're like, "Oh yeah, totally. I totally forgot about that." So yeah, people like that tend to forget. My family, we joke about it so much that they almost can't forget. Let's see. Next up here. Let's see. Yellow Paper Crown says MacBooks are much better. This is their comment. MacBooks are much better than PCs for accessibility. They just started using one and it's a life changer. Yeah, I think Macs are more accessible out of the box than PCs are. Now, PCs have come a long way. I will give them that. Narrator, Zoom or Magnifier, as they call it on the PCs, have come a long way, and they're a lot better. They're not as good as a Mac's accessibility features, in my opinion. IMO, in my opinion, I don't think they're as good. So if you have a chance, but here's the thing: MacBooks, iMacs, all that stuff, way more expensive, just insanely more expensive. That's why a lot of people don't get them. I chucked out a bunch of money to get a Mac because I felt like it was going to make my life easier. Did I need to do that? No, I could have got a PC. My wife has a PC laptop and I can still use it occasionally. Windows, though, has changed over the years a lot. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I do use a Mac, but I'm glad for you for sure. Let's see here. Yeah. um, yeah, the yellow paper crown again said, "Yeah, my friends always forget." They're like, "Look at this thing," and like, "Oh, it's cute." And that does happen sometimes. Honestly, people just forget. And here's the thing: I just want to make a quick comment about this. Sighted people, especially if you're the only blind person they know, they're going to do that. And the words look, watch, see, all those words are commonplace in our society. So when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, did you see that movie?" That's normal. They're not going to say, "Did you listen to that movie?" Because if they do, that's almost insulting to me. I'm like, "What?" One of the things that is my biggest pet peeve, and this is sidetracking a bit, so go with me. Biggest pet peeve is when people say, "Listen to the book versus read the book." Okay, because I do a lot of audiobooks. I love audiobooks. They're great. They're a lot of fun. I'm getting ready to start the new John Grisham book. So anyway, people will say, "Hey, did you read that book?" "Oh, did you listen to that book?" I'm like, "No, I read the book. Yes, I listened to an audiobook, but have you ever met a sighted person who said, 'Well, I don't read books. I only listen to them'?" No, they might say I listened to the audiobook, but I don't like it when people say, "Well, you can't read, so you must listen to it." No, that's not fair. I do read the book. I know what the information in the book is. That's just my thing. So, all right, let's go to the next thing here. Oh, where am I at? Yes, yes. Okay. Uh, okay. So I'm gonna butcher this name, and I apologize. Marinella, I think, is that right? If that's wrong, I apologize. Marinella Ortiz says something like, "The best thing to do with Android and Apple is to test them both. Maybe go to a store and try them both out if you can." And I couldn't agree more. That's so, so true. If you can test them both out and pick which one works the best for you, that's the way to do anything. Try things out. I always tell people, "Hey, if you've got an Android or an iPhone or whatever, just test it out and see which one works the best for you." Not the best for visually impaired people, the best for you. Because if Android works the best for you and all your blind buddies are like, "You need an iPhone," forget them because it doesn't work the best for you. I know some visually impaired people that say, I've lived with Android. I love Android. I'm going to Great, no problem. But I agree with you because if you can go somewhere and test those out, even better if you've got some friends that have those devices, maybe they'll let you test them out for longer, or they'll let you try them out in a real world experience. That could be really helpful to do as well, because that way you get a feel for how each platform is going to work in specific situations. Let's see here. Up next, um, mm, T. Gardone says Facebook is the worst whenever people post pictures and then don't provide description of those pictures. And they said they're not even on Instagram for that purpose. Here's the thing about pictures. Facebook has tried to give a little bit of descriptive audio about pictures, but they're kind of like person, sand, tree. It's like, what? This isn't helpful. And images almost, if you've got two people standing next to each other with their arms around each other, smiling, how much description? Oh, look, here's they're smiling, whatever. But if you can include an image description, it's great, especially if the image needs a little bit of like a caption, like especially if it's a landscape, like beautiful sunset with orange and blues or whatever. Those can be really helpful. But gosh, I don't hardly use it at all because it's such a visual platform. And I do describe my images, but it's like, this is just marketing 10, like, why do I care about this? So, but it's true. It'd be nice if everybody could give an image description for sure. Let's see here. Um, there you go. Is it JC5? Yes. JC5 Production says we shouldn't ask if Apple or Android is better. We should ask which one is better for me. That's so true. That is preach it, my friend. So true. Which one's better for me? Not which one's better across the board, but which one is better for me, for you, for the person using it. Let's see here. Let me go back. I lost my place. There we go. Okay. Sometimes this chat moves quick. Um, yes, I hate when people say listen to a movie. Yellow Paper Crown for sure. Oh, no blind buddies in real life. Yes, you do. We're your blind buddies, so you do have blind buddies in real life. You can count us for sure. Me and all these people in the chat room. Let's see here. From North Carolina, Nicholas. Is it Nicholas? Nicholas? It's spelled differently, so I don't want to. It might be Nicholas, just spelled differently. So my apologies if I butcher your name. Uh, let's see here. Yes, Marianella, they don't see. She says they don't see. I assume what you see. Forgive me. Forgive me if I make any mistake about anybody's name or gender or anything like that on here. I'm totally guessing, and if I butcher it, my sincerest apologies. But they talk about how they go to comic book conventions and people will look at things they don't even see their cane. Here's the thing I've noticed. When I had a guide dog, people got out of the way because they saw the dog. When I use the cane now, people don't get out of the way. They don't even notice the cane sometimes, and those that do don't always understand. There was a lady coming out, and my son, who's 12 and thinks things are funny, he was laughing, and we walked in, and I was like, "What are you laughing at?" He's like, "That lady was like staring at you the entire time we walked in." I was like, "Just imagine if I had a dog walking into a store." But it's so true. People don't even realize and don't notice. Let's see here. Uh, let's see here. Ooh, this is a good comment. Um, Holly McKnight. Hello, Holly. Thank you for commenting. Holly says that you can read in three ways: Braille, large print, and audio. That's a superpower. I don't know how many sighted people can read in three different ways. And yes, high five to you. That's awesome. What a great way to look at that. Like, hey, sighted person, can you read in three different ways? I don't think so. That's pretty awesome. You got to look at your things in a little bit different ways, and that's pretty awesome. Let's go next. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Um, so Brian Fallon says Touch ID or Face ID. Which iPhone do I have? Okay, I have the iPhone 8 Plus. That's the one I'm currently using. I decided to go with the 8 Plus instead of the 10 when it came out last year because I like the home button. It's familiar. I did a video about it on the channel. But Touch ID is what I use. I haven't heard anything horribly negative about Face ID. I do know some visually impaired people that are using Face ID, and they've had, fine luck with it. It's been fine for them. So if you're upgrading, it really depends on how much sight you have left. So if you want a really big screen, it depends on if you want to have that home screen or have that home button, because only the 8 and 8 Plus, they're the only ones left with it. So depending on what phone you have right now, it might be an upgrade, it might not. And just how much money you're willing to spend on a new phone, because they're really super expensive. So anyway, I've heard good things about Touch ID and Face ID. Either way, I don't think you're going to go wrong with that. And I've heard it from visually impaired people as well. Oh, Marianella says I'm pronouncing it right. Thank goodness. Uh, and Nicholas says I pronounced it right as well. Yes, thank goodness. I love pronouncing things correctly. I always feel bad when I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. I apologize. Let's see here. Okay, let me go back down. Let me see where I'm at here. Okay, let me get here. Yellow paper crown says no home button scares me. Honestly, it's not that bad because the side button on the iPhone 10 takes the place of most of the things the home button did. It's what we deem the power button on 8s and below. So you can triple tap for the accessibility shortcut, turn voiceover on and off. You hold it for Siri. I think you double tap it for Apple Pay. So it takes the place of the home button in some regard in that sense. So it's not completely without a home button. It just doesn't have the round one at the bottom of the phone. Um, I have, if you've got an iPad and you've updated to iOS 12 on the iPad, you'll notice that some of the gestures from the iPhone 10 have come to the iPad, depending on, if you're running iOS 12 or not. And the reason for that, I assume, is because they're going to make a new iPad that's like the iPhone 10 and 10s and so forth that have swiping gestures. And I've used some of those swiping gestures, and for me, it seems a bit slow at first, but I've heard other people say they get used to it and it's no big deal. I think if I was forced to use it and I didn't have a choice, it would be fine. But those swiping gestures can get a bit like, whatever. But at least, here's the thing. At least Apple thought about it. Excuse me. At least Apple thought about it, because you swipe, even when you start VoiceOver on the iPhone 10 or on the iPad with iOS 12, it gives you a little list and says, hey, if you're using VoiceOver, here's the swiping things you need to remember and blah, blah, blah. So that's at least helpful, for sure. Let's go to the see here. Oh, yeah. Jack. You know what? Here's the thing. I've got an iPhone 8 Plus. Is that what I said? Yeah, iPhone 8 Plus. And it comes with the dongle, the little thing you plug your headphones into and you plug into the lightning port. And it's fine in that regard. It doesn't really matter. And depending on what situation you're in, I haven't found any situation where I'm like, why don't I have a headphone jack? Unless you're trying to charge it at the same time. Now, there are some adapters I think you can buy, but it's not really that big a deal. One thing that I have bought is an iPhone case that is a battery case. I picked it up on Amazon, I think. And when you plug it in, the bottom has a micro USB port. I assume if you got some micro USB headphones, it would work, but I'm not sure. But again, that can be tricky when you're trying to use headphones and you don't have access to the port for sure. Let's see here. Brian Fallon says they're moving to Face ID on the new iPad Pro. Yeah, that's what I assume as well. I haven't seen any like announcements from Apple, but with all of the things, even on iOS 12 on the iPads now, they have moved the things on the status bar, the time, the whatever else is up there, the battery charge, the service, bars or whatever. They've moved them to the left and the right, and there's nothing in the middle, which tells me there's probably going to be a notch for Face ID. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Let's see here. Ooh, T. Gardone, traveling tips for VIPs. Think of traveling on your own. First of all, if you're traveling, that's awesome. Traveling really depends on where you're traveling to. Okay. So there's obviously some things about traveling, packing and being prepared and things like that. But it really depends on where you're traveling to. So, for example, my family and I just got back from the beach. And going to the beach can be different than going to Disney World or to a museum or on a cruise or something like that. So it really just depends on where you're going. I think the biggest thing is to be prepared as much as possible. Have everything you need to make your life easy. If you've got magnifiers, if you've got accessible devices, if you have different things for cooking or whatever, depending on where you're going to be, take all that you can, even if you feel like this is crazy. Now, if you're traveling, like I don't know, if you're going on a car trip, if you're going on a train around Europe, that might be a little different. They're going to take like an air fryer with you on the train or something. But if you're traveling and you're going to a destination, pack as much as you can to make yourself feel as comfortable as possible. Because let's face it, hotels and places like that aren't going to cater to you as a visually impaired person. It's not their fault. They're not bad people. They're just not going to cater to us because that's not, their job, if you will, quote. So be prepared if you can. Don't forget to always take your cane. I always take my cane on trips because I'm in new places and I don't have time to sit here and learn all of the new places. If I go to a place here, excuse me, in my hometown, I will probably learn that place after a little while. But on vacation, I always have my cane, regardless of whom I'm with, because I don't know these new places and I'm not going to take the time to learn them because I'm only there for 5 or 6 days. Doesn't really matter. But as far as traveling specifically, maybe like on an airplane, on a train, things like that, again, you just want to have all the things that can help you be comfortable whenever you're traveling. I think that's the key, is whatever you need. Kind of like if you're a little kid and you need your blankie or your teddy bear or whatever to make you feel comfortable, take the stuff that helps you feel comfortable. Take, your talking timer, take your magnifiers, take your bump dots, whatever you need to take it with you. Be prepared. Pack it in advance so that you're ready to go. That's just some basic stuff. I'm sure there's other things I could come up with, but that's just some basic stuff for sure. Let's see. Where am I at here? Sorry, I lost my track. Sorry, I lost. Is it? Okay, here it is. I lost my place. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, nope. There we go. Okay. From Berlin. Oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get your name right. It looks like Oguz. Oguz. Oh, I'm probably butchering that. I sincerely apologize. You know what? It's funny though, when voiceover pronounces your name, it sounds like it says Ogle Spy up. It butchers your name. I apologize. But from Berlin. Oh, isn't the internet amazing? I'm sitting here talking to somebody across the world. That's so awesome to me. Yes, the Yellow Paper Crown says traveling's all about preparing, planning. Yes, it is for sure, 100%. Let's see here. Um, Awesome. From Amsterdam to Berlin on the train. That's fantastic. You know what? And sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's not a big deal. We're blind. Just because we're blind doesn't mean we can." Yeah, I know, but sometimes it can be a bit scary, especially if you have just recently lost your sight. Um, let's see here. Yes. Okay. I'm trying to find my place. You guys are talking so fast. What are you guys doing? You're killing me here. um, So T Gardone flying says they're going to go fly and visit family. A little nervous about flying by yourself. Let me give you a quick little thing. When I first got my guide dog, it was 2001, and I flew in November, 2 months after September 11th, and never flown by myself before. So you can do it. It's really you know what? I find that the airport is one of those places that is actually really good for visually impaired people. They actually see a lot more of that. So if you have a cane, a guide dog, whatever, they're used to that. They will help you. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have probably a pretty decent experience. I can't promise the airline is going to be nice, but for the most part, it'd be all right. Let's see. Marinella says navigating the new iPads with a keyboard. You know what? I love the keyboard with an iPad. I have the Logitech smart keyboard thing because I have an iPad Pro, the 9.7, with the thing that hooks to it. I love it. It's so easy and so great. So if you get a chance to get a keyboard, a Bluetooth keyboard with it, I think it's fantastic for sure. Let's see what's next here. Ooh, that's right. Yellow Paper Crown says that when they have time, they go visit new things in Paris. Paris, yeah. And it's all about. Let's see here. What was it? Let me read that again. I'm so glad you guys are patient and graceful. Um, that's right. It's about being prepared and knowing where you're going for sure. Plan out the routes you're going to take. Plan out the places you want to see and how to get there and all that sort of thing. Some people are like, let's just go sightseeing. It's like, nah. Let's see here. Get rid of the G and make it silent. Oh my gosh. I'm nope. I was oh O's no. I it's not because I'm blind, it's because I'm slow. I can't I'm butchering your name. Maybe spell it. Can you spell it out phonetically how it's supposed to be pronounced? That'd be helpful. My apologies again. Um Ooh, this is good. Um Brian Fallon says, tip for traveling, check with your carrier if you're traveling about service charges because we use Siri a lot of times and Siri takes the internet and that can be, a lot of money to pay. So make sure you check with your carrier for sure. Nice tip, Brian. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Um, oh, yes. Okay. So, I'm still butchering your name. Our friend from Berlin, there we go. Friend from Berlin says they wish the phone had the dark mode because the invert colors, the smart invert turns off the night shift. That is true. It does turn off the night shift, which is supposed to help your eyes when it gets dark outside. I still use the smart invert. For me, it does the best. But yeah, if it had a dark mode, that would sure be nice for sure. I agree. Um, Yes. The blah blah blah. Where am I at? Yellow paper crown says to tell the staff if you're traveling. Tell the staff at the airline. They're really helpful. I agree. Let them know in advance. Hey, I'm traveling. I'm visually impaired. That way. Um. Oh, here we go. The blind life says, "What if you can't type?" Well, then go back to typing class. I guess. Sam, I told everybody earlier that they need to subscribe to you because you're very close to 10,000. So, I need a commission for for doing that. Let's see here. Okay, got to find my place again. Sam threw me off. Thanks a lot, Sam. All right. Do. Okay. Holly McKnight says, um, ooh, That's right. If you're traveling with a guide dog in a foreign country, you need to have all of the needed paperwork. Yes, I know one of the YouTubers, his name is Molly Burke. I think she went to Ireland, somewhere in Europe, with her guide dog, and she had to do, some information, paperwork, things like that, because it's not the same in every foreign country as it is in America. That guide dogs are just sort of, yay, guide dogs everywhere. So make sure you have all the stuff, IDs, paperwork, veterinary stuff, all that stuff, because they'll want to see it when you cross over into their country for sure, and you want to be respectful of that. Let's see. Mm. Did it really? Oh, wow. Oh, I did? Oh, I'm awesome. Yes. The blind life says I need to. Yes, you need to go back to typing class. Oh, you're funny. And Sam's excited that I've gotten everybody confused. Thanks a lot, Sam. Let's see. Niklas. Ooh, here we go. Niklas asks, can I recommend a good pair of headphones and ask if I use VoiceOver all the time? On my iPhone and iPad, yes, I use VoiceOver exclusively. Every once in a while, if I need to zoom in on maybe a piece of text or a picture, I'll zoom. But 95 to 98% of the time, I'm using VoiceOver on the mobile devices. On the Mac, I'm zooming in 95% of the time and using VoiceOver occasionally on that. Now, a good pair of headphones depends on what you're looking for as far as headphone goes. I use the AirPods. I think, let me see. I think I got them. Yeah, I got them in my pocket. Okay. I use the AirPods because, again, I use all Apple products, so I'm nuts. Somebody bought these as a Christmas present, so I was so grateful. But the AirPods are fantastic for connecting to your device quickly, for popping them in and out for ease of access. This little thing charges them, and I only have to charge the case every once in a while. They're great, except if you're trying to drown out noise and get a lot of bass. They don't have that feature. They're not great for that. So if you're looking for more deep bass kind of things, if you're looking for headphones for music or something like that, I mean, there's lots of them out there that you can't go wrong with. I bought some $50 Amazon type headphones. I can't remember the brand name, and they've worked really well. I bought some other ones. I can't remember the brand name, but it depends on what you're looking for. If you want some music headphones, that's a whole nother category. But if you're looking for some simple headphones to use voiceover with or something like that, again, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, AirPods are great. These I'm using right now, my wired, and they're great as well. They have their here's what I would recommend too. If you're getting an earbud, especially wired ones, get something that's rubber that will go into your ear well and make a good seal. I use these especially in the movies when I go see a movie for audio description. They give you a set of headphones, but it's like from 1995, and it's terrible. So I just sometimes I don't even get them. I'm like, yeah, I'll keep them, and I plug in my earbuds, and I just put one in, and it makes that nice seal so that I can still hear the audio description. So if you're looking for headphones for voiceover, something like that, AirPods, a cheap, decent set of wired ones. But if you're looking for music, that can be a whole nother category. And I would look into other things for that. Over the ear headphones, I think, are probably going to be the best when it comes to music. Let's see here. Let me go down here. Let's see. Let me read this. Yes, Marinella says Molly did go to Ireland. I thought it was Ireland. I wasn't thinking. Um, okay, where am I at? Okay. Ooh, Sam from the Blind Life says he's giving a presentation tomorrow. I'm going to use my Evernote trick. So, by the way, if you weren't here earlier in the chat, I talked about Evernote and giving presentations. So you type it all in. You can use it on PC, on Mac, on iPhone. I assume there's an Android version, and Sam can speak to this. But on the iPad, on the iPhone, that application, you type it in on the Mac or on the PC or even on the iPad, and then you can swipe through with VoiceOver and hear it coming into your ear with something like an AirPod or even a wired headset. And then you can speak that out once you hear it coming in. It's a little tricky at first. It takes some practice and getting used to. But now, man, I'm just like second nature. So, Sam, by the way, I would love to hear about that. Maybe you need to make a video and say, "Hey, I did this. Derek's awesome." And but no, yeah, that's great. I hope it really goes well for you. Where's the presentation going to be? You have to let us know. Ooh, okay. Yellow Paper Crown says that they're giving a presentation with Evernote tomorrow as well. Oh, I'm so excited. This is amazing. Love that trick. That's great. Um, by the way, Yellow Paper Crown, did you learn that from my channel or from somewhere else? I'm just interested where the information came from for you to learn that because, I see a bunch of stuff. Sometimes I don't always remember. So, but that's really cool. I hope it goes well for you as well for Sam. Also, I think that would be awesome. Let's see here. Do 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 do. Other note taking apps. Um, so it depends. No, it doesn't. um, most other note taking applications do not work like Evernote works. I'm not saying Evernote like in general Evernote, but the way VoiceOver works with it. So, for example, Apple Notes. I just kind of did a video about this recently that I haven't posted yet, but because Evernote's having some issues, and I'm like, please don't go under Evernote. But with Apple Notes, the space you take the note in, we'll call it the text box. Okay. So the text box, when you swipe over into the text box, you go into it and it reads all the text in that text box. Okay. Seems pretty simple. All right. Swipe right again, it goes out of the text box into maybe the menu down at the bottom, something like that. So you only have two swipes, one into the text box, one out of the text box. In Evernote, when you swipe into the text box area, you are swiping through lines of text. So, for example, if you have a line of text that says, the dog went to the park, period, okay, it's going to read, swipe right, the dog went to the park. Then, when you enter on your keyboard to make another line, another swipe will read that next line. So, let's say you type in, the dog went to the park, enter, I saw him there, enter, he was having fun. Okay. Swiping right is going to read those as three different sections. So, for example, if you're doing a presentation and you have an outline with different points and parts, every time you enter, it's going to read that in a different way. If you have a paragraph, let's say you have a paragraph of something you need to read out. So, for example, recently I went to a wedding and they wanted me to do a reading at this wedding. I was like, sure, no problem. So I got up Evernote and I typed in, they had a thing they wanted me to read, and it was in like 4 or 5 paragraphs. Well, what I did was I just went through the paragraphs, I copied and pasted them into Evernote, and then I entered down every time I wanted to go to a new line. Because sometimes if you're reading a paragraph and that's coming in your ear, you're like, oh, I lost my place. And then you can't go back. So it's really difficult. So I just entered down. So that's how Evernote works. Most every other note taking app I found works like Apple Notes, where you're in the text box or it reads a bunch of information like Helvetica 12, blah, blah, whatever. It's like, no, I don't need that. So yeah, Evernote's the only one I found that works like that, at least, from my vantage point. Let's see here. Sorry, let me go back. I've lost my place again. Okay. Okay. Yellow Paper Ground says I did learn on my channel. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad. Let's see here. Doo, doo, doo. So, okay. Larry, I think it's Test Tut. Forgive me if I butcher that. Larry says he's got a Samsung S9, a Galaxy S9, and he uses a Bluetooth, and that's great. LG is a great brand as well. Um, Marinella says they suggest Skull Candy headphones, and yet my wife has had Skull Candy, also a great brand as well, for sure. I recommend that. Um, ooh, ooh, weird. Nicolas says I speak English and Spanish. Um, and are you asking if you can use voiceover in two different languages at the same time? I don't think you can. I think you'll have to switch back and forth in the actual settings. So that would stink. But that's pretty cool. I wish I spoke two languages. My son, who is 12, is taking French right now and loves it. And I took French in high school, but I told him my teacher was terrible and I didn't learn anything. So, um, yeah, I don't think you, and Yellow Paper Crown also says, I don't think you can use voiceover in two languages at the same time. I have to switch back and forth, um, in the actual setting. So you have to take a little bit to go in there. I can't swear to that, but I would assume that to be the case. Let's see here. Oh yes, sold to Evernote. That's great. um, awesome. I'm so glad. Um, oh, by the way, no problem for the typos. I'm terrible at typos. It's all right. Let's see here. Hmm. T. Gardone asked about font. Which font is easy to read on the computer? I like a font that's a little wide and is kind of. I don't like fonts that have like, let's say like it's an L, like a line at the bottom or something. I don't like those kinds of things. I like a font to be very, L is just a straight line and A is up down with a thing across. I don't like the fancy stuff because that gets confusing to me. I use one. Oh, what's it called? Avnir. I think it's Avenir. Maybe like Avnir Next. There's one Avnir Next condensed, and it's kind of squished a little bit. I like that one, though I don't think there's any one specific that I have to use. I just don't like the ones that are kind of fancy because it makes it harder for me to read. And anything that's script, I don't like as well. That's just me. Ooh, that's let's see here. Oaz says, or again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. They speak three languages and they switch all the time. That's really interesting. I've never even considered and thought about it because I don't speak other languages, so that's cool. Um, Yellow paper ground. I'm too lazy to switch languages in the settings. Yeah, I would be too. I'm like, forget it. Who cares? Ooh, Google Play. Yeah, Evernote is on Google Play. I assume the counterpart. Here's the problem. I don't know if it works like the iOS version. All the explanation I gave about swiping right, that's only based on the iOS version. So I don't know how it will work on Android. Anybody that uses an Android can test that out. Sam, if you're on here, you can let me know as well. But I don't know how that will work. So no promises, no guarantees on that. I think Sam just put a ghost emoji. I'm not really sure. It looks like a ghost. I don't have very good eyesight though, so I don't know. Um, let's see here. Yeah, I can't read script at all. It's yeah, script is terrible. Um, you oh, Niklaus. Okay, Niklaus says I heard you can add a second language to the rotor. Yes, you can add a second language to the rotor as well. So you want to go in. That's a good point. I had not considered that. Oh, this would be okay. You still got to manually switch, but here we go. We're learning something today. So if you go into your voiceover settings and you go to speech, then you'll be able to pick rotor languages, or additional languages or something of that nature. I think it's rotor languages. I don't have, let's see. Of course, don't have my phone on me naturally, right? So you go to rotor languages and you can add a language to the rotor. And so what I do a lot of times, I just add a bunch of English languages like English American, English UK, English Australia to switch the voices just to have fun. But you could add, I assume you could add French or German or whatever to that rotor. And then like then when you go to the rotor, it says, all the things, words, characters, go to language, and you could swipe to a different language within that rotor. So that would probably work. Try that out, Nicholas. I would be really interested to hear about that. I'm going to test that out on my phone as well. But yeah, you can add other languages in the rotor based on your voiceover settings. So go to general accessibility, or go to settings, general accessibility, then go to voiceover, and then under, I think it's speech, I think that's what they call it now. That's where you can select the languages. Let's see here. So yellow paper crown says it doesn't work for them. I'd be interested. I don't. Maybe you can only add English. I don't know. Test that out for us. If I had my phone, I would totally test that out. But I don't even know where the phone is at this point. Anyway, yeah, test that out because I would be interested to see if that would work. I will test that out myself, and if it works, I will do a video on it and share it with you guys because that would be a very helpful way if you're using multiple languages. I didn't even think about that, to be 100% honest with you. I didn't even consider that to be, something that would take place. So yeah, that would be really helpful. Test it out for us, Nicholas, and if it works, let us know. And if not, if you can't test it out right now, I will test it out for sure and try to make a video about it in the near future. Let's see here. Let's go back. Ooh, nice. So Marianella says she can test it out on the Polaris, which is a Braille. I just lost the word. Braille display. There we go. I was like, what's the word? Which is a Braille display, from what I understand. I personally don't read Braille, so I've never used one of those. But hey, test it out. I assuming you're talking about Evernote as well. Test out that Evernote and let us know how it works. Yeah, there we go. So just a few more minutes on here. We will wait. I don't have anything coming up. My wife is working and my kids are with my parents, so it's been a fun time here at the house. Let's see here. Let's go next. Oh, okay. So, Yellow Paper Crown says you can add other languages, but it just reads English with a terrible robotic accent. That may be the case. Instead of reading, um, I think what's happening, and you can correct me, I'm not a tech savvy, completely here. I guess I am tech savvy a little bit, but you might. So if you are reading things in English, let's say your phone is in English and you're reading text messages in English, even if you switch to the French language in VoiceOver or the German language in VoiceOver, it's still reading English words. So it's going to read them with a German or French accent, in that robotic voice. You would have to switch your language, which I assume if you're in another country, you would switch your language, but I don't know. So if you're reading English, though, it's going to read the English in a weird, funky accent for sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see here. Okay, so Justin Holland. Hi, Justin. Welcome. Does VoiceOver read the chat? Depends on where you're at. So if you're on the phone, if you're on, let's say, the iPhone, and the chat's at the bottom, you could double tap to bring that up. I believe it does read the chat. Yes. I'm on the Mac and I'm just zoomed in and I'm selecting the text and using a keystroke to have it read out loud. That's how I'm doing it. But if you're on the iPhone or the iPad, I believe it will read the chat. For me personally, that's not exactly what I'm doing. Um, Here we go. Okay. The Sam for the Blind Life says they did a study to see what the best font was. Let me see here. Ow, sorry. um, Verdana is one of them. Yes, I do use that one. Tahoma and Verdana or Verdana. Let's go with that. Verdana. They're very simple, clean, and they're easy to use. He says the American Printing House made their own. Oh, really? I did not know that. So they made their own font called APHONT. App font, Apfont, Upfont. You're making that up just to make me look bad, aren't you? It's got APHONT, so I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but that's all right. OS says, how's my work situation going? Slow. It's going slow. For those of you that don't know, I am in the process with vocational rehabilitation here in America to find a job. Now, I am not in a mad rush to get a job or anything, so it's fine. But Voc Rehab moves at a snail's pace. The last time I heard anything was in September, and I was supposed to hear from a job coach in October. It is now October, 16th, and past that, 17th, 18th, I don't know, something, and I've heard nothing. So it's going slow. It's fine. I'm not upset about it. But here's the thing: if I were somebody who was I really needed to get a job or wanted to get a job right now, Voc Rehab would be so slow. It's just But that's, so anyway, it's going slow, but it's okay because I'm not in a mad rush. But thank you for asking. I really appreciate that. That's so kind. Wow. It's thank you. That really made my day. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Yes. So Yellow Paper Crown does say said it does read the chat, Justin. So there you go. There's an answer for you. Let's see here. I lost my place again. When you're trying to find your place in the chat, it can be very um well, it's fine until you guys start talking a lot. Then it's like, what? Where am I at here? Okay. Do 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 do. The way I find my place is like I've got text highlighted and let's see here. Okay. Do do do. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to find my place again. There we go. Okay. Yes. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. YouTube on Android will read the text, T Gardone says. So that's good to know as well. I appreciate you letting me know. Anybody that has an Android, you always let me know. That's helpful. Let's see here. Oh, you can download it from their website. I get the American Printing House for the Blind website. It's a font. He helps me pronounce. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. A font, which is the most generic name for a font. What's your font called? A font. It's a font. Yeah, it's called a font. A font. Knife. What? That's. We're gonna make a font, are we? Anyway, forget that. I could go on for that. Anyway, let's see here. Um, Yellow Paper Crown is applying for jobs as well. Yeah, depending on what country you're into, I probably is different things, but it's just such a slow process. Not only Voc Rehab, but you get a counselor. They then connect you with a job coach, and the job coach helps you find the job. Blah blah blah, that sort of thing. But it's just so slow, so slow. Oh well. Um, Ooh, Nicholas is going to start a podcast. Should you start a podcast? Yeah, go for it. For those of you who are keeping track, I haven't released a podcast episode in like a month and a half. It's been very slow. We were planning for a vacation. I'm planning on coming back, but I just haven't released one. But if you want to start a podcast, yeah, you definitely should. Let me give you a recommendation for a website to visit. It's schoolofpodcasting.com. Schoolofpodcasting.com. I don't make any money. I don't get referral a lot. His name's Dave Jackson. He's been podcasting for like 15 years or something crazy, almost 15 probably. But he just has a bunch of stuff, and if you email him, he'll email you back with questions. And if you want to email me with questions, Nicholas, that'd be perfectly fine. Derek, Derek at lifeaftersightloss.com. I'll be happy to point you in the right direction as far as podcasting. But should you start a podcast if you're legally blind? Yes, 100%. Go for it. Get your story out there. And it's a lot of fun and not as hard as it seems. A little bit of a learning curve maybe at first, but not too bad, after that. Let's see here. I appreciate it, Oz. I hope that everything goes well. Let's see here. Ooh, here we go. I'm gonna butcher this name too. Uh, Game Daughter One. There we go. They say I'm assuming then. Yeah, it's got to be right. Game Daughter. They said they're the odd one. They use Android, and most of their friends use Apple products, which happens in the blind community. Most people will use Apple, and then a few use Android. Mm. Uh, yes, Marinella says it took her 3 years to find a job, and takes a lot of patience. It sure does take. It takes a long time. It just does. uh, Yeah, Justin says they had no luck. He had no luck with Voc Rehab, and sometimes it's just hard. Like, it depends on the job. It depends on your circumstances. I actually went out and did a couple job interviews on my own. I didn't get the jobs, but that's all right. And so it just really depends on what you want to do and how far travel, transportation, so many factors. It doesn't always work, but I figured I can get a job on my own, but I figured because if I need accessible stuff like big $3,000 magnifiers, they could buy it for me, and that would be much better. Um, Yellow Paper Crown says in France, it's hard to find a job to apply for, but easy to get a job as a visually impaired person. Well, that'd be interesting. Like, I think in America, sometimes it's like they need that product, not the proverbial disabled person. It's like, oh, you're disabled. Well, we've got to hire you because we need the count for that number in our culture. So, but it just depends on again what job you're looking for and all that sort of thing. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, Sam and I are going to do a podcast together, by the way. Oh, sweet. Okay. So keep your eye out for that in the next 2 to 9 months. That's we'll definitely release one. We're going to talk. I'm going to have Sam on the podcast. We're going to talk about his journey in YouTube and all that other good stuff. Ooh, T. Gardone says, love your podcast, especially that audio quality with the Heil PR40. Yeah, somebody knew what that mic was, Heil PR40. Yeah, this is what this microphone is right now. If you can see a little bit, is the Heil PR40. It is a fancy microphone that I spent way too much money on that I shouldn't have bought, but I did, and it's a fancy mic, so I really like it. So, whatever. um, Niklas, yeah, no problem. I wish you the best. I hope your podcast goes well. And if I can help you out in any way, please let me know. Game.R1, yes, I got your name right. Sometimes, even with these names, because it's your YouTube name, sometimes I butcher them and, oh well, it doesn't matter. Let's see here. So Sam is leaving the group. Everybody say bye to Sam. Oh, Sam's got to go, but he likes this format. Me too. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, I'll talk to you soon, Sam. Thanks so much for joining me. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Yellow Paper Crown says they're an amateur radio, so they know about Bob Heil, which is who, the Bob Heil's the one who created this microphone. And then they said they have a piece of paper in France that says, please hire this person. I need one of those pieces of paper. Please hire me. Please. Oh, it's from the government, so it's legit. Hire me. Let's see what we have going here. What's next? Oh, it's T. Gardone that says they were in amateur radio. Forgive me. Let's see. Ever said bye, Sam. I love it. I love everybody saying bye to Sam. That's hysterical. Oh. Yes, I do like this format as well. It's a lot of fun chatting, getting more information out there. And I love the fact that people said bye to Sam. That's hysterical. Oh, that's great. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, live streams are a lot of fun. They're sometimes they're hard. Like I said, as a visually impaired person, they can be difficult because I have to get close to the screen to see it, and I am a good, I don't know, over a foot away from the screen, and it's difficult to see. That's why I'm using this earpiece to listen to the text that's coming in on the chat. So it's been working pretty well, I think, this time actually. So give me a thumbs up, or whatever if you think it's worked out. Oh, yeah. Brian Fallon says, thank you for what I do. You're very welcome. Thank you for that. And it's nice to have a blind family. Yes, it is. We're all in this together. I just made a video, just recorded it. So it should be up in the next couple of weeks where I talk about, everybody's here. We're not alone in this sort of thing. So thank you for that compliment and that comment. I appreciate it. And it's good to know that we're not alone. And that's what's most important. Ooh, so let's see here. Who was this? I don't know the first word. The dragons, maybe? Yes, the dragons blind tech. My phone is ringing. My apologies. What kind of jobs can help relate to? Let me read that again. Make sure I got that right. Mm. So here's the thing about training other people with assistive technology. That was the question about getting a job, training other people. So I know Sam. I think he has a job where he works for a council for the blind, something like that. A lot of those jobs, there's just not a lot of those jobs. There might be a lot of volunteer opportunities, but there's not a lot of those jobs. Those jobs might require, degrees in assistive technologies, degrees in teaching the visually impaired, things like that. So there's not a ton of those jobs. Plus, there are some requirements to have those jobs. If you want to teach people with visual impairment, the great way, volunteering, YouTube channels, podcasts, things like that, that's a great way to do it. But as far as the jobs go, you really have to work for an organization. You might be able to like start a class at your local library, something like that. But again, that's probably going to be a volunteer opportunity. I would look into maybe college coursework on working with the visually impaired, the blind and visually impaired, because some of those jobs are going to require specific education. And again, there's just not a ton of those jobs out there, which is sort of unfortunate. Yes, Game Daughter says if the chat starts moving really fast, that's when I have trouble keeping up. Me too, Game Daughter, as well. Here's what I do: I highlight some text. Like, for example, I have your text highlighted right now for your uh, chat for your thing, and then what I do is I will scroll down a bit, because once you scroll down, the chat stops moving up. Now, once you scroll up a bit, it'll shift back up. But if you have that text highlighted where you left off, then if you have a little bit of sight left, you can at least pick up, kind of where you left off. Let's see where I'm at next. Yellow Paper Crown says, "Am I the only one who doesn't understand how a sighted person looks at a screen from all that distance and could just see it? That seems impossible." Yellow Paper Crown, have you been visually impaired your whole life, or did you lose it at some point? I'm just curious. Being somebody who lost their sight, I totally understand. I understand what you mean, but I understand what it's like to see. Now, I will say that the longer I am visually impaired, the less I remember seeing. So it makes perfect sense. But yeah, sometimes when my wife's like, "Look at that thing over there," I'm like, "My God, how can you see that? That's crazy." Let's see here. Yes, Justin Holland says it is incredible, and you realize how amazing once you lose it. It's kind of like you don't appreciate something until it's gone, or appreciate someone until they're gone, and that's for sure. Like, you just really appreciate sight once you don't have it anymore. You take it for granted when you do have it, and you don't realize it and realize how much you use it until you can't use it any longer. That's the truth for sure. Oh shoot, let's see. Ooh. That's neat. Yellow Paper Crown says at their university, they pay blind students to show other blind students around and how to get around the school. That's really cool. I know at some universities, they will pay people to read books for an audio tape. This was back, years ago, but I know, read a test to a visually impaired person, something like that. That's kind of an office job and it doesn't pay much. But, if you're at university, if you're a student, that could be really helpful. And that's really cool that they pay somebody to, walk somebody around and show them around, especially another blind person who knows how to get around. O&M training can really help with that as well, depending on what kind of situation you're in. Mm. Yellow Paper Crown says they lost their sight 3 years ago, but forgot what it's like to see. I think I have those moments as well. I've been visually impaired for 17 years plus now, and there are times because I have some sight remaining. I don't know how much it affects me, but there are times when I'm like, I'm looking across. It's like you can see that. Wow, that's crazy. But that's just how it goes sometimes. Um, wow. So OS says that they were born with 20% and lost about half of that around age 40. Um, and then it says, it's like, but they feel like they did lose their sight. So that's such an interesting perspective. Everybody has different perspective, and none of it's wrong. I want to go ahead and make that statement. If you have a different perspective on sight loss, doesn't mean I had different perspectives. And so it's interesting how you feel like you were born with such limited sight, but then went through sight loss as well. So this is such an interesting perspective. Thanks for sharing that. That's really neat. Um, mm. Yes. Marinella Ortiz says that a good idea is to help volunteer in your school district, maybe to see how people teach and that sort of thing. I think that would apply across the board if you can, whether it's visually impaired people, whether it's sighted people, whatever. If you can volunteer and get some experience that way, I think that will really help in the long run with getting a job, because then you have some experience, because it's kind of that catch 22. We require experience, so we're not going to hire you, but how do I get experience if no one will hire me? So it's kind of one of those things. But if you can volunteer in your school district, whether it's at a blind school or, public school or whatever. I know in my area there is a blind school, so volunteering there might be helpful, but it really just depends on your situation. And so good suggestion for sure, volunteering at a different place. I would highly recommend that as well. All right, guys, let's check the time here. It is now almost 6 o'clock my time. I don't know what time it is where you are, but I'm probably going to wrap this up here today because I need to prepare for dinner. My wife will be home from work soon. I've got to make dinner. Tonight we're having, what are we having? Mashed potatoes, corn, and I'm going to do chicken legs, I think, tonight. And I have an air fryer, and somebody told me that you can make them in the air fryer, and it's like fried chicken. Now, I don't think it's like fried chicken, but hopefully it's really good. So, yeah, so I'm going to use the air fryer tonight to make those chicken legs, and hopefully it all goes well. We'll see, but who really knows? But if it does go well, I'll make a video and tell you guys all about it. Hey, thank you so much for joining me on this live stream, this AMA. I love this format, as Sam and others have said. It's been a lot of fun answering questions, conversations, talking, laughing, sharing. I love all this stuff, and I so appreciate all of you for joining me. It doesn't matter whether there's one of you, 20 of you, it doesn't matter. I appreciate you joining me, sharing your story, sharing your time with me. I really appreciate it. Game Daughter One, yes, I will let you know how it goes for sure, because I if it works, it'll be a lot of fun. I will have a lovely evening. Yellow Paper Crown, you have a lovely evening as well. Thank you so much. Yes, it is Southern food. I'm in the Midwest, but we do like our Southern food for sure. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good evening as well. T. Gardone, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And a great evening to all of you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the comments, for the questions, for everything that you did on this live stream. We had a great time, and I am going to post this live stream on the YouTube channel so that other people can check it out, and so they can see what they're missing as well, because live streams are a lot of fun. Thank you again, everybody, for joining me. And, as always, remember, as I always say, that sight loss isn't the end. It's just the beginning. My name's Derek from lifeaftersightloss.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video or in the next live stream.